What's going on, everybody? Dr. Howie here, and welcome to another episode of the Heal408 podcast, where we're connecting the health and healing world to more of itself. And guys, I have waited a long time to connect with our guest today. He is an old dear friend of mine from high school. We actually had a handful of classes growing up together, and even through college and even post grad up until 2 months even ago. We've always stayed in touch, always sharing with each other our wins and challenges. And I'm so excited to have my old friend Jack Biebel with me on this episode today. Jack currently is a high school teacher at Bellarmine as well as a personal trainer. And in this episode, we dive deep into his philosophy on personal training as well as his general philosophy and perspective on health and healing. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on, brother. And just want to take a moment here and just thank you for making the adaptations to making this work. I know we had to reschedule a few things and then some technical difficulties, but you're here now, and I'm just so stoked to see you. So that's my first thanks. Second, if I can just go a bit more personal now, I always felt like in high school, you're always very respectful to me. You know, you've always show me nothing but love and support. And I really felt that as we went into college, even post grad, just the power of social media allowed us to stay in touch with each other's lives, always offering love and support. And here we are today, like you agreeing to do this, you know, especially on our phone call last week. I'm really grateful for that. And then third, finally, before I shut up, is congrats on your engagement, brother. I saw that happen recently.
Dude, I'm married now. I'm not even.
Oh, you're married. Oh, even then you're married. Okay, all right, my bad. But congrats, man. That's a big milestone to hit. Super proud of you. Super happy for you, brother. And
hey, we're getting that. It truly is. That means we're getting old, man. It really does mean we're getting old. But hey, likewise, though, I always respect and admire your charisma and just the way you go about doing things. So, feeling is mutual.
Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate it, man. Well, let's dive into it, man. Love to hear a little bit more about you. So in 30 seconds or less, how would you describe yourself? Like essentially, who's Jack Biebel in 30 seconds or less?
Yeah. So I wear a lot of hats kind of throughout my life. And I'd say loving and caring son, brother, husband. I try to be present as much as I can with people I love and the people in my life. And then I'd say a passionate and humble teacher, strength conditioning coach, and just a caring, loving friend to everyone in my life. I'd always try to make everybody feel like somebody. I think that's kind of a guiding principle for me. So kind of something that I've stuck to in all different aspects, relationships, and interactions with people.
Yeah, I definitely felt that. You know, that's something I've always felt, that love from you. It's family. It's interesting you brought up the family aspect because I feel like I've ran into this cousin of yours many times, man. I think you had a cousin that works security at like a courthouse. Yeah, run into him all the time, man. I mean,
yeah.
And he always talks about it. Like, oh.
San Jose is so big yet so small. So the 408 is large, but it is a small community.
I feel like I always meet someone that knows you or related to you. It's always something I've realized as we're going along.
There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of us. That's kind of one of the things. I try to be kind of a wide circle, wide network, small circle, right? I like to have a kind of a few close friends or be friends with everybody. So it's kind of something I'm passionate about, making connections with people.
Absolutely. And just kind of going further, you know, with all the hats that you described that you do, you know, strength coaching, teaching, you know, family man, brother, friend, and all that, with all that encompassed together, what is your definition of health? And ultimately, what are the steps that you believe lead into healing to become healthy?
Yeah, so I think this is a big question and something that I've thought with throughout my life. First, I'll kind of give you like the buckets and how I define health. So I actually take it in 5 buckets. First one, I'll talk about sleep. So hey, sleep is such an important part of your life, and you really feel the negative effects if you don't get enough sleep. So I got sleep, and then I got relationships as another bucket. So building those connections, those relationships, and making sure, hey, you take time for your friends, your family, your significant other, whatever that is. And then I have exercise as from one of those buckets to fill. We all know the importance of exercise. We talk about a little bit more of that later. Exercise, nutrition is a big one as well, with bucket number 4. And the final one, mental wellness. So focusing on kind of that whole holistic approach. So for me, definition of health is filling those 5 buckets. You can't have one more full than the other. Kind of law of averages, all these kind of balance out over time. And just give you a little personal insight. This is something that I've struggled with over the years. I know you're my fellow college athlete over here. When I was in college, I went very hard. I was not the tallest guy, but I always tried to be the hardest working and the fastest, the strongest, and knew no one was going to outwork me. That was something that was in my control. And I actually worked out so hard and didn't feel my body enough that I shut my body down. I had the testosterone of an 8-year-old girl. So it was like a 3-year process, and that to get me back to where I needed to go. And the whole holistic approach is something that I learned. I realized, hey, sometimes less is more. Consistency trumps intensity 100% of the time. So the whole no pain, no gain thing, that's something that just what I thought at the start. I'm sure you felt the same way as a college athlete, but something I've really changed my tune off. And sometimes you gotta give your best on that day. Sometimes it's maybe 60% of what you're normally used to, but for that day, it's 100%. So my definition of health is filling those buckets, and filling those buckets each day, filling those buckets each week. That way, you're living that the life that when you are no longer here, you're like, hey, I did it right. So not just one I think is more important than the other.
Okay, good. Because that was what I was going to ask. Like, is one bucket, does one triumph the other, or is it more about listening to your body, think about what the needs are, and then reprioritizing out of those buckets?
I always tell people I work with, life happens, right? I tell the students I teach, life happens. Sometimes it's not going to work out. Maybe you wanted to get a 40-minute workout in, you only got 20. That's okay. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep that one day. Maybe you got to adjust, modify, or work out the next. Maybe you had a birthday party and you ate some cake and you're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be real. Now I'm like, yeah, that's okay. You know what? Live your life. You're not going to be on your deathbed saying, hey, I wish I would have not eaten that cake. Right? So I think it all kind of goes in ebbs and flows. Some days might be more than the others, but the law of averages comes from those buckets, and making sure they're half full, 3/4 full, not overflowing on one, but not empty on the other.
Okay. And want to touch a little bit on, I think our generation a little bit, like the millennial generation. I think you and I are very similar in the sense that with you in basketball, with me in swimming, we're not necessarily genetically gifted for those sports, as we've seen. Like, I'm always the shortest guy on the team. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you and I can relate. But at a lot of times, that comes with this mindset of, okay, I may not be genetically gifted in this sport, but I will be the hardest worker in this room, in this pool, in that gym. Right. And then you brought it up, like the no pain, no gain has been like my mantra for the longest time as an athlete. And realizing even for me today, even in my profession as chiropractic, I'm still dealing with the same left shoulder issue that I've dealt with like 10 years ago, So I just want to get a little bit more insight on your end, especially because now you're in a position where you can make that change, right? As a strength coach, even as a teacher. So how did you essentially unlearn some of those old patterns, create new ones, and then be able to be in a position to say, like, what is your message now to the people that you work with so that they're not going down the same path that you and I essentially did when we were going through school?
Yeah, I think the big switch was, to be honest, I fought it hard for a long time where I was like, hey, I'm good. I'll just fight through it. I'll fight through it. Like I've done this my entire life. I'll be good, right? And it wasn't until I started reading a lot of research on a lot of how to train properly, right? The effects of overtraining and the importance of recovery right? And reading a lot of research on that, I think was very helpful for me. Listening to a lot of podcasts, reading a lot of research, and really diving into like the nitty gritty science of the human body, right? How it works. It's such a powerful thing, but it's also so delicate at the same time. So that's kind of the reason I started my business as a whole. Was after college, I was learning a lot during college, but then applying that was something different. So I started my business after I was reading up about it, after the personal experience, and that's where I was able to kind of like unlearn what I had done. I sat down, I was like, okay, hey, what should a week of training look like for me? Right? What are my priorities? Not just exercise wise, but in my life, right? I can't just work all the time. I can't just train all the time. How am I gonna fill that relationship bucket that is also important? Um, so I think it was like, hey, finding out that schedule, finding out my priorities, and then from there, I was able to develop like, okay, like a training program that fits with my life. And for the past 6 years, I've been on a similar training routine program. It's worked wonderfully for me. And sharing that with others, I always give them the why behind it. So I always explain, people, oh, you can go over all the science, but unless you explain to them like why this is important, how maybe your personal experience, they're they're more inclined to listen to it when you have like the why behind it, and they see your passion, right? So that's one way I'm able to relay that message to the people I work with, explaining them the science behind it, why we're doing what we're doing, but then also, hey, here's the reason this is important, right? The importance behind the thing. So I think you can, yeah, tell people a lot of things. They read a lot of things, but when you really break it down for them and see how this fits into their life, it's definitely more receptive.
To really get down to the nitty and grits of the why, and then you'll understand the how a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's kind of like reverse. You're kind of reverse planning, right?
So you talked a little bit about the clients and the people that you work with. So I just want to get a little bit more detail on that. Who do you best work with, and why do you think that is in terms of your clientele and like your dream clients?
It's a tough question because I literally have everybody in terms of I have a 75-year-old guy that I see 3 times a week. And what he needs is vastly different than what a 13-year-old that I train needs, right? Maybe there's something similar in terms of like their motor learning pattern, right? Being able to make some movements in autonomic movements where they don't think about the details, right? Working on proprioception. Then high school athletes, working with them, they need something different too. But everyone kind of needs something different, but the basis, the foundation, a lot of it's the same. But I always tell people this too. It's the genre. So I'll play music during the workouts, and it's like I got a older clientele. It's like, okay, well, we're turning on 70s road trip jams, right? And then I got like the high school kids. It's like, all right, rap caviar. Like, let's do it. So it's kind of connecting with them, and I think that I'm able to connect with the high school kids because pretty well. One of my main jobs, and then the two, the business wise, I can they're a little more malleable and willing to listen to me, knowing I have a little bit of background and experience. But I feel like it's hard for me to narrow down which one. The older population I can connect with too. It's just a tough one. But that's the one thing I guess how I'm able to do it. And that specialty is making them connected, right, with the people and building their trust in me, knowing that I'm going to help them. I have their best interest in mind. Not just doing it for a paycheck. I'm doing it because I care about your health, your longevity, and bettering your life. So yeah, I think that's a tough one, but I feel like you had to pick one. You don't have to pick one, Howie.
No, I mean, the way I'm listening to you and reflect on this, it goes back to kind of what you started the podcast out with, which is one of your core values is making everybody feel like somebody, and I think that right there is essentially like the reason why I think right now you're like, gee, I work great with everybody, because I think that's just kind of true to who you are, and you're able to express that through the execution of being a personal trainer. So I mean, I think that itself with your reflection, like I'll take that answer.
Okay. Passing grade. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's hard just because I think it's once you build people's trust, then they're more willing to buy into your programming and your like fitness routine and your philosophy. And I think that the first comes the relationship and the connection, then comes the philosophy and the result, right? The buy-in, I think, is something that I try to start with.
And to understand a little bit more about your business here, is it all in person or is it like some online stuff as well? Like, just get a little bit more detail on kind of what you do.
Yeah, it's a hybrid. So some people I work with in person 3-4 times a week. A training guy who lives in Boston on Zoom 4 times a week. He's got a nice little setup with a you don't need too much. He's got some adjustable dumbbells, some bands, a bench, and a little exercise ball, and perfect. We'll get in 4 days a week of some full body lifts. And then I have some online people I coach nutrition wise, building habits, and or online programming. Hey, here's your workout here's a 6-week plan. Let's build it out and progress every 6 weeks or so, and then lots of in-person sessions at the same time. So it's kind of a hybrid Zoom, online coaching, fitness, goal setting, nutrition, and then in-person stuff.
So almost in a way that as long as anyone is willing to work, you'll make it happen for them in a way.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of big thing is you don't need a fancy gym. You just need to show up. I always tell people kind of say, master the art of showing up, and then we'll get to the cool stuff, right? Show up first. That cool stuff, that, yeah, it might look cool, but the functionality of it and the usefulness of it isn't as prevalent as you might think. But once we master the basics and we build that foundation, then we can start doing some of the cool stuff that you see on Instagram, see on TikTok. That's kind of the vibe I try to give people. Sometimes people are like, hey, like, man, no thanks. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stick true to my philosophy, how I do things, and we're not going to go from 0 to 100 because the whole goal for me, hey, have you feel good, one, move well, feel good, and be strong, be healthy, right? So that's kind of what I try to present to people, like, hey, let's do it wherever you're at. We'll do it in a safe and effective manner.
Want to highlight something you've mentioned in there, which is showing up, right? The hardest thing to do is just showing up. And I think what I've always appreciated about you actually is, I can't even tell you how long it's been, but I know for a fact that before 6 a.m. you're going to make that post on your Instagram. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's there. Yeah, I know it's there. I always look forward to it. And so to me, that's just your way. For me, when I interpret that, is just your way of showing up, not just for yourself, but for other people that's seeing this, right? But I want to actually pick your brain a little bit on just like the concept of showing up. Right? How would you advise them to stay consistent and keep showing up, even when the times are hard?
Yeah, I think it's a few things that I try to focus on. One for myself, then two that I try to pass along to other people is, hey, it doesn't need to be a home run, right? Sometimes singles up the middle. I always like to I get sports analogy to punch. Singles up the middle will do it, right? You don't need to go for all at once. So, hey, you don't have an hour, that's okay. What about a 20-minute walk, right? You're dragging oh man, I'm tired. That's okay. Maybe you do a little bit of stretching, right? Something is better than nothing. That hour workout you're supposed to hit, only got 20 minutes, life happens, that's fine. And then another thing that I try to focus on is think about that feeling after. That feeling after a workout, the feeling after you spend time with your family, after you go to this event where you're like, oh man, and then you're like, I'm glad I went, right? So that feeling after, I think, is that's a powerful thing. But getting there is the hard part, right? So I try to think about that end result for people and really emphasize the future you will be glad you did it, right? Future you will be glad you did it, glad you did that workout, glad you reached out to that friend. Glad you went to bed early, didn't stay up and watch another episode of that TV show. And it's something that I use for myself, just to make sure I'm always coming back to like, hey, what's my bigger goal, right? And then another one, just kind of go with that, 1% better every day.
Yes.
I listen to James Clear. He wrote a book called Atomic Habits, but I listen to his podcast a lot, and that's what he talks about, 1% better. You get 1% better every day over the course of the year, man, you're making huge improvements. Compound interest, if you want to get into some finance, right? Best time was yesterday. So it's something that I always think about in small baby steps make a huge difference.
I absolutely resonate with the way you approach that. I really enjoy that, especially the 1% better every day. I mean, that's something. Once I've heard that, like I was like, oh yeah, that made sense. That made sense. And even for me, in my practice, I even go a little bit further with that. It just go 10% outside your comfort zone, right? And you do that, and you'll be 1% better every day. So yeah, that's definitely a message I really resonate with, and I like to share with my patients as well. If I were to sponsor you a billboard, right, on the freeway, and you've seen all those billboards flying around San Jose, what's the one message you want to share with the world about you as a personal trainer?
Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily be more like personal training. I think it's more kind of everything. It goes into life, it goes into the work I do, the relationships I have. And I heard this, I don't know where I heard this, I can't even remember, but maybe about 8 years ago. It's leave people better than you found them. And that's kind of that stuck with me when I heard that, and I was like, wow, that's something that everyone can do, right? No matter how big, how small. You can walk down the street, and you can leave someone better than you found them. Or like, hey, give them a friendly smile, right? And the connections I have is with the students I work with every day, with the clients I have every day, is making sure that they feel like, hey, like Mr. B, or like, hey, Jack cares about me. He's got my back. And knowing that when they got a safe space, one to work out, to learn, do all these different things, and no judgment. We're not worried about how you compare to other people. Let's worry about how you are now versus how you're going to be 6, 8 months, a year from now. So, yeah, kind of leave people better than you found them. Kind of that philosophy that I've turned into, hey, more of like instead of a relationship one, but just like a career life one at the same time.
I love that. It really speaks to who you are to the core, not just like from the different hats that you wear. Like it's really huge to the core and your philosophy, and be able to preach that, right, in the different hats that you wear. I think that's phenomenal. When you want to give a moment to reflect here, when you're working with your clients, do you notice that even though, yeah, personal training is a physical end of things, but do you notice like emotional releases or stress management, like things that improve, not like other than the physical element of it all? Like, have you noticed those type of things too?
Yeah, so I mean, I like to say I'm part therapist, part plan and workout, right? It's everyone's got things that kind of bug them. I mean, we're human, right? And another thing is, I wrote my master's. I got 2 master's degrees, but I'm finishing up one now. But the first one, I wrote my master's thesis on the role of exercise on academic performance and mental health, and kind of that combination. Just because I was seeing the prevalence of PE getting cut from schools, kind of the first thing to go. When in reality, it's like, hey, you invest a little bit on that front end, and you're going to not only perform better, you're going to have a better memory from all the research that I've read and from a study that I completed, but you're also going to feel better. I mean, you release those endorphins, the feel-good hormones in your feel-good chemicals in your brain when you exercise. So exercise, they say, is the most powerful antidepressant And if it were uphill, everyone would be taken, not only for their physical health, but for their mental health. So yeah, I mean, the one for myself, when I start my day with a workout, with a run, with a lift, anything, it's one of those things where, man, my day is easy after that. Everything else seems easier. And I try to always encourage that, if it's possible, start your day with a workout. If you can't start your day with a workout, start your day with a quick little journaling. I write down something for my wife every day, every morning. I post that quote, something that gets me going. I'm productive. And then if I can go for a walk, listen to a podcast, or get that workout in. So just the feeling of moving, being outside, being like present in the moment, and then the combination of releasing those serotonin in your brain, just really, it's that powerful feeling when you work out. So yeah, it's not just the physical aspect, it's the mental wellness aspect as well. Yeah. What about you? Do you feel the difference?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's night and day, man. Night and day. I'm always typically in a pretty good mood, but like when you don't get that workout in, it's like, oh man, like you're always kind of a little. At least me personally.
I think on a personal note for me is, as a swimmer, you're doing doubles, right? So like your whole day in college was revolved around that. But I think once I graduated and I actually do things on my schedule, that's when I started noticing like the cognitive improvements. Because I think for me in college, I was like sleeping through class, man. I was just so tired. I got another practice coming up. I gotta save up.
Yeah, you're up at 5 a.m. It's 4 a.m. Yeah, you're driving.
Yeah, you're just like, all right, I got lifts, And so I definitely noticed like post grad, I was like, oh, now I'm like really seeing the benefits of that. But I want to highlight a little bit because you talked about working out in the morning. Now, is that a recommendation you give? Is that, is it just the fact that like you are able to accomplish something difficult in the day, so that sets the tone for the day, or are you more or less looking at from like a physiological, biological standpoint of working out?
Yeah, and I've read a lot of research on this, and I think if you could start your day with a workout, all the research I've read, tremendous impact on the rest of the day, your mood, your memory, your productivity. So that's, if you could start it with the workout, great. But if we're going like on the pyramid, right? The most important part, getting it in, right? As you work your way up, you can start making like some smaller adjustments. So I think that's kind of low on the totem pole, right? For me personally, I think the most important part, get it in. But my recommendation, yeah, I would get it in the morning, even if it's just a walk. I start every day for me with a 20-minute walk, go on a podcast, take my morning cup of coffee, go. Feeling that, getting moving, being outside, something that I always promote to people too. There's a lot of science behind being outside in nature, on overall moods and everything, and mental health. And then I think another thing is willpower. I read a lot of research on willpower. You don't use it, you use up a lot of willpower throughout the day. Saying no to this snack, sending out these emails, having patience with coworkers, having patience in meetings. So by the end of the day, you use up a lot of willpower, and that's not an infinite source, right? And they show the research is use that up during the day, you are less likely to actually get that workout in the evening. So that's why start the day with it. One, you're set for the rest of the day, and then two, productivity and just you did something hard, right? You did something hard, and you're like, hey, I'm proud of myself for that. So yeah, I think it's a physiological one, but breaking it down even further, if it's not possible, you got kids, life happens, get it in somehow, some way.
Man, I love seeing the journey, my man. Since knowing you since high school and to where you are now, like I'm just so proud to like have met you. Really seeing everything just transform. Right before us, and we gotta get coffee sometime, man. Really talk in person and break it down, or get a workout in, brother.
Hey, I'm a coffee connoisseur, so let's do it.
Yeah, man, I know we talk about it all the time, but I know we gotta get that going, brother.
Hey, my gym is always open. Yeah, we can get a good one in.
Oh, I'm so down, man. I'm so down. We'll bring some of the high school squad over too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You brought up morning, so this is just an extended invite to you and also any of the listeners out there. Wednesdays at my garage, I'm hosting a move, breathe, meditate session from 6:30 to 8:45. Wait, no, wait, 6:30 to 7:45. I was like, no, it's too long. And just extending that invite out to you. I know you got to make your way over to Bellarmine, but anything you can. If you got to leave early, it is what it is. We started that this week, and it's been just phenomenal in terms of the feedback I got. So extending that invite out to you, I'll definitely send you a follow up text for that as well.
Right.
So with that,
power of breath for sure, right? The whole box breathing thing is a pretty powerful thing.
Movement, breath work, and meditation to set your intention for the day. I mean, I've noticed that Wednesday was just, it's kind of like you said, like setting the tone, right? You did something great for yourself, being fully present, and that sets the tone for the day. And so, honestly, Jack, thank you. Thank you for your time, man. I know you're a busy married man.
Very married.
Married, but I really appreciate your time here. And just nothing but appreciation and love for you, brother. Really love watching your journey. Really love watching just you getting after it. I think after high school, you're trying to find a place to play basketball, and you found a place, and watching that kind of nurture itself and see the position you are today. I think for me, it really motivates me. And that's one of the things I appreciate about those morning posts that you put on your story, because I'm like, Jack's getting after it. Shit, like, all right, okay, let's go. So know that it does create a positive effect on somebody, So
if it gets one person, mission accomplished.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
This episode's Q&A was submitted over a text. Thank you, John. So John said, how can individuals incorporate sustainable, long-term healthy habits into their daily routines? Long-term sustainable into their daily routines. I think a reflection period is necessary for this first, especially when you're trying to create a long-term routine into your lifestyle. So it has to benefit you in some way, has to elevate you in some way. And so I think when you think about yourself through the lens of eating, moving, breathing, thinking, recuperating, and breathing, which ones out of that category are you doing really well in, and which ones are you doing the worst in? And from there, allow yourself to explore how you can improve in that specific category that you are the worst at. And then from there, try to make some changes. And don't be so attached to the first change that you make being the one that you have to stick to long term. No, I think is first figuring out what category of the 5, eating, moving, breathing, thinking, recuperating, which one are you the worst at? And then from there, start to explore options on how you can improve them, improve that specific category. And in the process of experimenting with the improvements that you're making for that specific category, also have the understanding that great things take time. So don't expect 1 or 2 days to see improvements. Don't just expect quick improvements in a short period of time. Be consistent, show up, learn from the mistakes, but I think ultimately acknowledge that it's going to take time, know what category you have to focus more on, and start playing with minor improvements you can make. And I think from there, you'll be able to see the benefits of making those changes. And before you know it, it just becomes a part of your daily routine. It doesn't have to be like a long-term thing. No, it just becomes a part of you and your identity. This is just something that you do. Now maybe down the road, 6 months from now or a year from now on, out of those categories again, one may be now lacking more because you've worked on a specific category for some time. And so you continue to have that reflection period and be able to just start again, improving, start evolving, and start continuing to put in the work to become the best version of yourself moving forward. So that's all I got on that. Thank you guys always for the support. I'm always looking for awesome people to have conversations with and get connected with. But other than that, everybody, have a beautiful, wonderful rest of your day. Thank you guys.